Sweeney Answers Podcast, episode 121. Been a minute, but we back in here. Same old format. Summertime. Just took a little chill break for my birthday and all that. Had a lot of things going on in May, but we back now. Got the ball rolling. Stay tuned on the We Need Answers Podcast page on Instagram too, because I got some events coming up. The one that I know is coming up for sure is July 1st down in Harbor. My guy Dev. Follow him and meeting you where you are on Instagram. We got a show right down at the Harbor. There's going to be some live stuff. I'm going to have some merch on deck and a lot more stuff. So come check us out. You want to get on the show, stop through there. I got a couple minutes for you. Make something happen. If you're looking to sponsor, any business want to sponsor your business, holler at me in the DM. We Need Answers Podcast on Instagram. We Need Answers Inc. at gmail.com. We can talk business, get your promotion going on a page, on the YouTube, on the Instagram, all of the above, and on the show. So that goes on the podcast app as well as the YouTube page and app and the Instagram page. So we going to make sure everybody see what you got going on, services, businesses, all that. Just holler at me. But we back today, back in the Real Wire series. It's been a minute since I did one of these, but we back, and I got a good one today. If you didn't check out my episode, my Aunt Jackie is way back. One of my first episodes. She got a real entertaining episode. She keep talking about coming back again. We gonna get her back on here again because she funny and she keep it real too. But my guest here today was recommended by Aunt Jackie. She kept telling me since like last year, I want you to get James on there. And I was like, I got you. And I keep my word with everybody. I said, I don't know when, but we going to make it happen. And we here today. We going to talk about Baltimore from back in the day up to now and the effects of this city, good and bad, all the way around. And I always tell everybody, like, this series is just to show people that it's not all about crime. And even if it is about crime, it's about what you do after the crime. It's the effects of that, the effects on the community, the effects on the person, all of the above. So we're going to get into that now. So we can start from the top. You can introduce yourself. Tell us where you from.
James, West Baltimore, born on Pierce Street, Lower Alley Street, snuggled in the Lexington Terrace area. So about the first 5 years of my life I spent in that area, Pierce Street, Poplar Street, Stroder Street, Lexington Street, Mulberry Street. Okay. I think about 5, we moved up to Fairview Avenue behind Mondawmin. Okay. Some things took place, and we ended up with my mother's mother on Baltimore Street in between Monroe and Fulton. Okay. Stayed there a few years. You know, my mama's family was really, 4 or 5 aunts, 3, 4 uncles, a multitude of children, 3, 4 people to a bed, that kind of situation. Yeah. So, I have a pretty large family, pretty close-knit family, grew up, most of my cousins were more like brothers and sisters because, slept in the bed together for several years. And when I was born, my parents were married. Something took place once we went to Fairview Avenue. I think that's what made us relocate to Baltimore Street. I think I was around 5, and so I realize now the impact that it had on me, not having my father in my life, and I imagine acting out, and then the realization that my mother had moved on with her life, and so just traumatic, and seeing her with the guy did something to me. Like I don't understand why my father not here, right? Yeah. And so as a child, and I grew up in '63, so my mother wasn't my friend; she was my mother. Okay. So she ain't sit me down and say, "This is why your father's not here." Like I just dealt with it the way I dealt with it, and I think my father came back into my life. I believe I was around 8. Yeah, I believe I was around 8 after, saying a few times he was coming, wouldn't, sitting out on the steps waiting for me and my sister. He wouldn't show up. So around 8 or 9 years old, he started coming back, taking me and my sister out. Then he started coming to just get me. And it would always be on a Sunday. And his younger sister was involved with one of the major players in the city at the time, right?
Okay.
And so I was introduced to all of that and the individuals, and this went on for several Sundays. It elevated from that to me holding packages, from that to handing people packages, receiving money. And this, I think I'm around 11 or 12 around this time.
Okay.
And so about, because my aunt, one of my mother's sisters, was living on Lexington Street, Stroder, and so he would do what he over Murphy Homes, right? And so because I had witnessed, you know, and so after several times at the house, you know, witnessing, because, you know, just a lot of white stuff, you know, because I'm 8, and a whole lot of trash bags, and, you know, the guy would say, Lord Jimmy, see how many dollars you could get out the bag. So, you know, every Sunday, so I'm excited, you know, to go up. And so again, it progressed from that to, you know, holding stuff. And one day, I think I'm about like 13, and he gives me a bag to hold, and curiosity gets the best of me, and so I dump the bag out, and, you know, it's a bunch of bundles, rubber bands around them, right? And some white particles fall out, right? So me and my cousin, one of my cousins, who I consider a brother, what the hell, you know? So we know, because I'm 13, so I know what's going on, and so, you know, we inhale, you know, and it does what it does. We get sick, you know. So my father comes, you know, man, what you know what I mean, whatever, right? But it doesn't stop, right? And so at 14, right, I picked up and didn't put it down, right? So, you know, at that time, like, you know, like I said, dealing with a few issues, and then, you know, coming from that area, right, seeing a lot of things that I don't think that a child should see, but normalize it, right? Because if you don't want to see it, then you know. So I want y'all to accept me, you know. So I subject myself to a lot of stuff I really don't want to be a part of, right? And so I think that's my first experience with not being all right with who I was, right? Thinking that I had to be accepted by y'all, right? And so my transformation began maybe when my father left, right? I noticed, reflecting back, I can notice a change, and around 13 or 14, you know, because I just want to be with my father. And by him introducing me to what he does, so in my mind, I'm like, if this is what I have to, you know, and so
this was it takes to get accepted,
right? So you know, I step out, you know, get introduced to that, because again, I'm up at this time, I'm up Park Heights, but I'm spending most of my time on Lexington Street at my aunt's house, right? And so these occasions with my father, you know, so again, like, and now I'm in it. Right, and you know, at this time it wasn't feasible for adults to hand children, you know. So anyway, my father, he goes away, he gets locked up, right? So he's gone for a couple of years, and so I'm dealing with, again, you know, my father leaving me. Then I start my trek, you know, because I'm in the street, so I'm doing things. So I start my journey through the juvenile institution. I spent about 3 or 4 summers in them, and, you know, eventually I graduated to the adult system probably around 1981. Spent 6 years. Came home with some brighter ideas, I thought, to sell some dope. Right.
That's why you call it school.
Yeah, absolutely. So, you know, I come home with these bright ideas that I collected from all the characters. In the,
where was you locked up at?
I was locked up in Baltimore, Hagerstown. I spent most of the time in Hagerstown, right?
So you with people from all over the area.
Right,
basically.
right,
Yeah.
right. And because I had gone through the juvenile system several times, like I know a lot of guys. So when I transitioned to the adult system, you know, a lot of them guys transitioned also, right?
Yeah.
And yeah, so you know, like I said, I stayed locked up like 6 years. Came home, you know, like I never left, right, and picked up where I left off. Unfortunately, my stay wasn't long. I got caught up in a situation where it was either I say I know you did it, or you know, and so the information that I received from my father and his friends, you play the hand you dealt. Ain't no throwing a hand in. So I ate it. So I go in '87 and come home in 2012, right? And you know, my love of the substance doesn't stop. Right. Like I'm not one of the people who get locked up and don't
get clean.
Yeah, I don't do that. Right. And so it, you know, naturally it progresses, and you know, I think in guilt from a lot of things that he exposed me to. Right. My father always, you know, contributed. Right. And
it's like suppressing it.
Yeah, you know what I'm saying, and you know, having some conversations about it, right? And that, like I remember at one point, like really having some resentments, right? Because I figured if I would not have been exposed,
if it wasn't for him,
right? But you know, in hindsight, you know, like I said earlier before we started this, right? I just believe that everything happens because it's meant to happen. Right, and I believe that this journey that I'm embarking on is predestined, right? Because even though doing the things that I was doing, right, and knowing that there are some consequences, like I had no idea that they would be as severe as they were, right? So
I think that comes from, but I think what you saying, like, because I hear you going back and forth with it about. And I think we all go through that. It's like it's kind of like finding, and I don't want nobody to take this the wrong way. It's kind of like finding something to blame it on when you say everything happened for a reason, kind of, which I believe, I agree. But when it happens, when it's always like this happened because of that, but everything happened for a reason. But it's also a part, to me, from doing all of these, it's like our environment is what increases it.
Absolutely.
It's normal, like you said in the beginning. It becomes normal because it happens everywhere. It's like with violence, and you see stuff happening on the street, and people getting killed at all these different ages. Like, all right, well, we take it as, we always hear this, so we don't even think nothing of it. Like, we be like, damn. Then the next day or two, it's like we back to regular life. But a lot of what you said before you got to this point was that, you know, your environment, stuff you saw in your environment, stuff that people was handing you, stuff what you was doing, it was all normal at that time. So it always is like, now it's like when it comes down the line, it's like, well, maybe if I wasn't around this stuff, it would have been a whole different story. But we can't control that either, especially at that age.
Absolutely.
But before you go any further, I want to go back to when you was coming up. So you painted a picture of what your environment looked like, but paint the picture of Baltimore City to you. What did it look like to you back then?
Struggle, oppression. But one thing that I did see was that I don't see today was unity.
Yeah,
right. Because in the struggle because everybody was struggling. You know, so you had a few that was a little bit off. Right. So everybody looked out for each other. Right. Like the neighborhoods wouldn't allow a family to suffer. Right.
Everybody help each other.
Right. And another thing was how everybody in the community participated in raising the children. Right.
It takes a village.
Right. I mean, of course you made your decisions. But you had like for example, if I was outside doing something I ain't had no business doing,
somebody else's parents could take care of you on that.
Yeah. So I
Beat
might
you
get
or anything.
Yeah, so I might get 2 of them before I even get to my
your
mother.
house. Yeah,
And and it's strange, not strange, but ironic because like me and a friend of mine were having a conversation the other day and talking about what do I think that's missing today that was very a staple when I grew up, and that's one of them. The community playing a part in raising and protecting the children, and also the information that was passed down.
Okay.
Right. And somehow it's gotten off track.
Okay.
Right. And a great example of that is the way parents raise children today. Like a lot of the things that I witnessed children doing, I wouldn't even think about as a child.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
And
Me too.
You know, it's a lot of elements that take place when the government says that you can't discipline your child.
Yeah.
Right. And then when my child leaves the house, it's my fault.
Yeah.
Right. But
especially when a kid know that the government feel that way about it. They going some of them abuse it. Some of them abuse it.
Yeah, because you know the thought of ever call 911.
Nah.
And you know, and I was a child that you know I learned by experience a lot. Right. I saw my cousins and sister suffer for doing some things. Right. And I'm talking about stuff as simple as when we were living with my grandmother, and you know, on Baltimore Street, the houses have 2 ways you could go upstairs from the front and the back part of the house, right?
Okay.
So in the kitchen one morning, me, my sister, and my grandmother was telling my sister to do something, and on the way up the steps, she sucked her teeth. And
she went crazy.
Yeah, and I'd never seen my grandmother move that fast. And yeah, you know, and so like I don't have any children.
Okay.
Right. But that doesn't remove me from being a part of the problem.
Gotcha.
Right, because I was with a few women that had some children, and then the damage that I did in the community, right? Like I was not, like I tell myself I did some good things, right? Because the concept of not letting anybody suffer, like that's where I come from. So if they were threatening to turn off something, or you know, and so I tell myself I was helping, but you know, when I looked at it, you know, I did a lot of harm in the community. So like today, like I have an obligation, right? I just try to pour back into the community and try to be a part of the solution.
Yeah, I got you. You got that experience to do it, because it's a thing that we want to break that pathway. Like it's so much, like you said, stuff that ain't being passed down. The stuff that will get passed down is the stuff that we don't want passed down. We don't need it passed down. So, because you can get more advice on what to do wrong than to do right.
Absolutely.
Quickly by a stranger or anybody. So it's definitely, I definitely understand that. So going back to where you was at in the system, you so how many years was that? You said from 86?
87 to 2012.
How many years is that?
25.
So how old was you when you went in there?
Was that 24.
And when you came home the first time, when you said you had a better plan, how long was you home?
10 months.
Damn.
Yeah.
Went right back.
Went right back.
Damn.
And you know what's crazy about that? My father's oldest sister at the time was a professor at Morgan.
Okay.
Right. And so I had an option other than, you know, but my mind is already made up. So the 6 years, I didn't. The only thing that I did that was productive in the 6 years was I got my GED, and I got an auto mechanic certificate.
Okay.
But other than that, all the rec hall time, the yard time, the walks, the dinner, I'm telling and listening to stories of how we can do this better when we get back, right? And so when my aunt presented it to me, I said but she saw me in an area that's you know heavily sedated with right? And the first time I give her, I'm waiting for a ride. I'm going on a job interview, and the second time, the third time, she doesn't even stop.
Okay.
Right, and so me selecting what I selected got me what I got. Right, because again, I had a choice.
Right.
And I decided, and so when I look back at it, right, even though I'm not responsible for the act, I'm responsible for the decision that put me there.
Yeah.
Because had I wouldn't be there.
Yeah.
Right. So, and having a lot of conversations, throughout that time, like, why would you? Because at the end of the day, I made the choice to be there.
Yeah.
And again, because I'm going off what I understand now is some bad information, like die with your boots on, and a whole lot of silly stuff like that that was embedded in me. And then like my father and his friends basically trained me for that lifestyle. So certain things are embedded in me. And so when I'm faced with that situation, and while waiting in court, state on a couple of occasions, like we don't believe this is you, and this is what we are seeking, and if you want to take this chance, so again, like you gotta do what you gotta do, because I don't, and so
So you had an out.
Yeah, I had an out.
And you just said, I'm gonna fight it?
No, I said I'm gonna eat it.
Oh.
Because that's what
you was told to do.
That's what the streets, and like this new era, right? I don't get them.
The telling and all that.
Yeah, I don't,
now, I don't get it either. I don't believe it's different, right?
Yeah, and like when I came home, right after, being gone this last time, and the I don't know what disturbed me more about coming home, right? I think more than anything, how people were allowing society to dictate how you live, as opposed to my household determining how we live our lives. And I think another one of the things that really affected me was how the younger people had no respect.
None.
For the older, and I was like, and I used to say this to people, like in my first year at home, like I miss certain elements, and everybody misunderstood me. Like, no, of course I don't miss being locked up, but a lot of the principles that were in play, right,
culture was different,
right,
and there's definitely lack of respect, lack of respect. Even me. I'm way younger, but even my era, we wasn't on that disrespectful type time. Like it's crazy now.
Right.
But that's because social media raising the kids now.
Right.
Like you was saying, you was raised by everybody in the neighborhood, but now social media raised, and that's not real. So,
right.
So when you went, can you share, or you don't want to share why you ended up going to jail?
Yeah.
What was the charge that you got? That
murder.
Okay. So 26, I was thinking, so how many of your teenage years were you free?
About 2.
Okay.
Yeah, about 2.
So do you feel like you didn't get to live a normal life as a child?
Absolutely. Okay. And I share this, like, whenever I'm asked to speak. I grew up in the system, basically, because again, in and out of juvenile institutions, and I think at one point it was 1 year that I was home, an entire year, in between 14 and like 23, 24 before I came home. So yeah, I spent and that governs my behavior, my mannerism, and my disposition. Probably 98%.
Yeah.
Right. And so I'm trying to find some balance, right? And but when you spend so much time in a different element, right, it's hard to.
Yeah. Jail supposed to rehabilitate you, but it kind of turn you into a whole different being, from what I get.
I mean, like, and that's interesting, because I think anything, right? It depends on your perception.
True.
And what you put into it and what you want to take from it.
True.
Right. And so this second time going in, I had some good men, right, that that sat me down, because I went in, I had 45 years, right,
Okay.
so I had no idea, right, because I don't know if I'm ever going,
come home or not.
right, so I'm fixing my mindset on,
Not
right, and so one of the guys that I met, he told me to do the time in like 3-year increments, right? And so I would study this for 3 years. I would, and that's how I did the time. And and I think for the most part, I think I became better because of his instruction, and then a lot of other dudes that came into my life that helped me with some things, because there was a lot of things that I thought I was aware of, but I really wasn't. Right? I was really naive to a lot of things. Like I had no concept of God.
Okay.
Right? I thought every time I made it home, I did it.
Okay.
I did it again until some good men's. You're not that good.
Yeah. You had to show you was a higher being.
Right. And so my concept and of that came into play. Now I embrace religion, because like when I went to church, again, as a child, because I didn't have a choice, so I wasn't able to get a concept. And then when I had the choice to go to church, I was only going because they said that's where the loose girls were.
Okay.
Right. So So I never got a concept. So again, I'm running on ego and my self will. And again, every time I make it, in some situations that it's no other reason that I'm here. Other than him having his hand on me.
For sure.
Right.
For sure.
And I talk about, like, I'm very transparent, because the goal is to try to help and to try to keep somebody from
making the same
right
mistake.
Because again, like I did a lot of damage, so my goal is every day, if I can get one person to change their mind based on
you did your job.
Right.
Did your job.
And so I have 2 nephews, right? And one of them was acting like he was in the street, and I'm trying to tell him, because you grew up where you grew up doesn't mean
you don't make the street.
Right. And so
it's where you live at.
Right. And so I did enough time for everybody in the house, because he was caught up on what he was hearing, and I would always tell him, but they don't tell you the other side of it. Like, why I'm not in your life right now. Right. So, and like.
So he was kind of like repping, like, I got a cousin that, I see that a lot. I got somebody in the streets, like, you don't know about such and such. That's, they glorify the wrong parts of the story.
Right.
And there's always more than one. Always more than one. You don't never hear no street story that's all the way good.
No,
it's impossible.
Like, there are a few people who manage to escape. Right, but it's like
you still go through stuff in that process.
Absolutely, and then the people who, for lack of a better word, are successful, who make a successful exit, it's like trying to stuff a wet sweatsuit through a drain pipe. Whatever amount of water comes out, that's how many people had a successful exit.
Gotcha.
Right. And one of the other things about growing up in the 70s, right? The people who were messing their lives up would always encourage you to do something productive with your life. And here it's the opposite. Right? And it's like the individuals who should know better are taking advantage, because that's how I see it. And then not only are you taking advantage doing what you're doing, you're taking advantage of them as far as proceeds. Because you think, or that he doesn't have anything, doesn't give you a right to treat him like he is slave, like 12 hours, $20. Like, just
if
insane.
They doing something for you. I remember hearing this a long time ago by somebody they told me, he said, like, how the people disrespect the people they serving to. Why would you disrespect them if they the ones putting the money in your pocket?
And that's something. And even now with the fentanyl, and now being in the city has been introduced to something called Train that originated in Philly, which from what I read is a tranquilizer for rhinoceroses, right? And I read it about 2 months ago, and I shared it, at the groups that I go to, and like, I don't come from that because, like you just said, my customers are my.
Yeah, without them you can't eat.
Right, so I'm putting something together. I don't know what I'm doing, and I'm killing the people who make it all right for me to do what I do. I just don't.
I remember having I didn't have a conversation, but somebody was telling me about a conversation they had with somebody that was living that life, and they was like going back and forth about like this person wasn't doing something for somebody, and they felt like they should. And it was kind of like a back and forth, like, well, you doing this and you killing the people in your community. So what do you?
Right.
And I think like when it's outside looking in, like for you to say how you realize things once you got older and when you went through what you went through, and I think I don't know how many people in the streets like hustling wise, successful hustlers really like get whether they get out of it or get big, whatever, look back and be like, well, damn. I did this to this person, mother, or that person. I'm a part of that. I don't know how many do it, but it's definitely you kind of start to understand why the game is how it is. Like it's good and it's bad. You reap the benefits, but you also get your bad parts out of it too. But at the same time, it's a result of what you're doing to other people.
Absolutely.
So it's a hell of a business because if you read articles and shit, certain magazines, they'll be like that. What you did in the streets, you could be that's like a CEO of a business. The way that you run this shit, but it's just like we only know what we know, so we subjected to do what we do to the people because, like you said, it's passed down. My big homie, my uncle, my father told me this. I'm gonna do this. This is how you make money. You can't be broke. And like you said with the social media, now all the girls they shit on the dudes doing a 9 to 5. Or don't got the money the hustler got. That's another way people get in the streets now. So it's just crazy how everything evolves for the good or worse. So going back to the system thing. So coming up in the system through that time period is when you come home, especially now. How does it feel to hit like when you coming back in society and you know. Your mind frame is stuck on waking up this time, locking in at this time, going out at this time. So how do you change that, or does it change, or what's your mind frame when you come back into society?
It really depends on how you come home. Right?
Okay.
If you are able to transition. Like minimum security, like I wasn't that fortunate, right? So I came home from prison, and so after being gone as long as I was, coming home, it was like because I stood in front of the house that I grew up in for like 30 minutes, right? Because I just could not believe how the dynamics had changed, and I'm looking. And I'm looking at the entire block, and I'm like, wow. And so, but first, coming out of the gate, right, I really didn't believe it, right? And so, and even with my family being there and all of that, it was kind of like surreal, because I never imagined being able to walk out. And so coming home was like I felt like a child, like I had to start all over again because everything that I remembered about the city, and the thing is that like even with constant contact with my family, like it's nothing like being there, right? Because my family tried to prepare me, and some friends who had came home before me tried to prepare me for what they expect.
You gotta be there,
man. Man, let me tell you,
they can tell you everything, but you really gotta be out there.
And so, never having experience like like for the subway, right? And stuff like because I wanted to do some stuff on my own, right? But like initially, like I was very afraid to move around by myself because I'm used to being. Right, and I know the individuals around me. I know how they gonna You understand what I'm saying? And so to come out here, I felt vulnerable because I don't really know these people.
Yeah.
And like one experience I had with a job training program at Goodwill. And so my nephew took me down there, right? And so I'm thinking it's gonna be a long process, but it really was short. And so he had left intending on coming back. And so once I came out, I called him, right? And so I'm standing on Baltimore Street, and I said, "Man, come get me." So he's like, I said, "No, right now, because I'm having an anxiety attack."
I got you.
Right, so it's hard coming home, you know, after being gone, because it's so much you have to adjust to. One of the greatest challenges was adjusting to my family, right? Because what I realized after a while is that we each grew, but we grew differently, right? Because you imagine you locked up that many years, I don't know how many books I read, right? So my awareness is great, right? And so I started feeling like I had grew beyond my family, and so I started feeling guilty, right? And so I had a conversation with my father about it, and he said, "Man, you cannot diminish
other people
who you are." He said, "What you went through, and it did some things for you." You know, and so like if you know, don't shrink yourself to fit someplace that you've outgrown, right?
I got you.
And but like I still carried it with me, and you know, and subconsciously, I'm apologizing because I'm aware of some things you aren't. And I feel bad, because I know and you don't.
Yeah, I got you. So, what did you have a lot of support while you was locked up?
Absolutely. Yeah. You know, again, like I have a large family, right? And even though, like, primarily, of course, my mother, my father, you know, when he was, you know, out here. But for most of he was out here for most of it. I think it wasn't until towards the end that he got a situation. But yeah, like my family, aunts, you know, cousins supported me because they knew the situation, right? And you know, at heart, I'm a good person in spite of, right? And so yeah, and then you know, again, because we grew up the way that we did, you know, like close, so it was very supportive. And you know, when I came home for like the first 2 weeks, my mother's house was like packed, you know. Yeah, but it's, you know, my homecoming was, you know, it was lovely. But again, just having to adjust, and like fear sets in, right? Like what I understand, like fear can do two things to you, right? Fear can paralyze you to the point where you can't move, and then fear can push you to overcome whatever, and so through the support of my family and some friends, you know, I was able to, you know, maneuver. But like today, like being home 11 years, and I still find things that I'm getting used to, and you know, because the transition, because the balance of me being there as opposed to being out here, right? Because all of my adult years up until have been, you know, and then most of my juvenile. So to say that I'm institutionalized would be minimizing.
Yeah, basically a whole new life.
Right.
So what was it like seeing, being in all those years, you seeing younger and younger people come through? How was it like witnessing that and interacting with them?
You know, early on, see, I didn't, through God's grace and mercy, I didn't get to experience these young people, right? Because I was gone. So, you know, the young guys that came in while I was in, they pretty much got in where they fit in, right? For the most part, because you know, the guys inside, they actually run it, and so that's one of the things that I found unsettling about coming out here, because it's a system of check and balance.
Yeah.
Right. You step out of line, and not that I'm condoning violence, right? But if you don't have justice, then you have disorder, right? And so I come from a system of order, and then I come out. So to me, it's like I left a natural environment coming home to an unnatural environment,
Right?
Because that's how it felt.
I got you. So what was the what was your, paint the picture of your daily routine when you was in the system? Like, what's your days look like?
Generally up about 5:30. Do some reading, might do some meditation. May or may not go to breakfast. Depending on, because I was always into something, school, working, so I always had, like, I never just sat around, right? And so, up about 5:30, reading, meditating, getting ready for the day. Doors generally open about 8, and people going out, if, let's say I'm in shop, right, go to shop, get a lunch break, right, maybe you can come back to the building, maybe not, go back to shop, come back about 3, take a shower, dinner's about, depending on what building, between 4 and 6.
Okay.
After that, you got night yard or gym. You go out, you work out, come back and get a shower. I really didn't play the rec hall too tough, because I like being solitude, not isolating.
Yeah.
Right. And that's pretty much the day. Like, but if I'm like weekends, of course, it's different. But I'm gonna wake up around the same time because now, like, my internal clock is effective. So I wake up at the same time, like, and then we have yard about 9, from about 9 to about 10:30. So you exercise, work out, come in, take your shower, get ready for lunch, then either yard or rec hall in the afternoon, and the same thing in the evening.
So what was that conversation like with the guys that taught you about a higher power?
Basically, like you're not that good. Like, there is a force, you call it what you want. That there's a force that governs everything, and that protects us when we don't have the ability or the common sense to protect ourselves. And so I was introduced at, like, not just a few conversations, because I'm self-centered.
Okay.
And
So it took a little bit for you to get it. Okay.
Yeah, because I still think my ego.
Yeah,
right.
Yeah.
And so maybe about 3 weeks, with a few guys, and so the light came on, right. And so I was introduced to religion, and I went through several doors, and so my understanding and my concept about God became greater, and then I start understanding that there was a purpose for my life. I just had to tap into what it was, and then commune with God and see if I could uncover what His desire was for me, right? Because again, like, I understood at that point that everybody had a purpose, right? And so I went through different phases of reading. I did my Black Panther, my Malcolm X, and all of that, right? And so I'm behind the door one time, and I asked my older sister to send me some books, and this is during my George Jackson. That's where I'm at the time. Yeah. And so when I get the package, TDJ, so I'm like, fuck, she sent me some, what I'm saying?
She threw that in there?
Right, okay. Right. So, and it was one of his first books called Instincts, and it was about discovering your purpose. Okay. And it became one of the greatest books that I read. And so, again, like, getting all of this confirmation that there is
a God,
and right, and then understanding that like, God has been protecting you, right, like a shield, if you will, right, and so my understanding grew, and I have to say that going through this recovery process has heightened my awareness of the presence of God in my life, and spirituality is like, because I have a religious affiliation, but my spirituality is what guides me through the day.
I think that's the most important part, the spirituality part, because a lot of people tend to fall on the religious part, and that's when a lot of people they kind of do it for the wrong reasons, or they highlight the wrong part. For instance, like when you say Christianity is like, you ain't supposed to do this, you ain't supposed to do you, but you can't tell nobody about their relationship with. That's the spiritual part, the relationship.
Right.
If the way I connect with whoever your creator, your higher being is how y'all is how you get it. You can't see because you believe this is the way it's supposed to be. It ain't the way. No, it's different for everybody.
Right.
I believe that. I had that battle with my mother a lot. The old, you need to go back to church, you need to do this, you need to do that. When I try to tell her, older people don't really get it because they feel like how I'm raised, how I raised you, this is how it's supposed to be. But it's once the older you get, same way you found your way, I think everybody finds their way and you realize what works for you.
Absolutely.
Another thing I wanted to ask you was, so, like I said earlier, prison and jail supposed to rehabilitate a person. When outside looking in, when I see it, it turns. What I see the effects of it a lot of times is I guess I don't know that I can't verify the actual definition of rehabilitation, but I feel like the society in prison and jail, it can turn you into a monster. You correct me if I'm wrong, if you let it.
No, I think it's like the street.
I'm gonna say before you go, I'm gonna say it, but I say this because, like I said, it's perception, because it's always from here, and I ain't even gonna say off of shows and movies and stuff, based off people that go through the system. It's like it creates a different sense of awareness. You gotta live a different way in a lot of other ways. Well, matter of fact, I'm gonna let you go. I'm gonna let you see.
The last part is absolutely correct. Like, it's like the street, but on 100,000. Right. Your awareness has to be keen. One of the greatest things that prison taught me was how to read people, like in a matter of seconds, because it could mean life or death. Yeah. Right. But I think from my experience, it's choice. Okay. Right. Because I could go in there and wreak havoc. Yeah. Right. And get, or I could go in there and decide that I'm going to try to make myself better, because I know a lot of lawyers that came out of prison. Okay. That went in and came out. So again, like just from my experience, and it depends on your perception, and and having conversations with people, right? Not the VR, right? About God, people that I'm friends with, right? I always use the analogy of a mountain, right? And you got 3 groups of people living around the mountain. If you ask each group to describe the mountain, they're going to describe it based on their perception. But it's the same mountain.
It's all 3 different things, but it's the same place.
But it's the same mountain. And again, not to revert back, but that's my concept about God. Because
I got you.
Muslim and people ask me why I go to church. Like, truth is truth. Yeah. Like, am I going to block my blessing because you understand what I'm saying? Yeah. But like prison, some people, again, decide to remain who they are. Okay. And some people choose to be worse. Right. Just like some people go in and decide to be better.
So you hear this a lot, like people say you be yourself in there more than anything. Is that the case? Because if you try to be hard, you're gonna get a lot of consequences.
Somebody gonna challenge how hard you are. Right. Yeah, be yourself. Because it's like prison is like the jungle,
Okay.
right? Predators,
Yeah.
right? And so like you mask up out here, right? Depending on the situation, you do the same thing in there,
Right.
right? But again, with the understanding that if I bark real loud,
Somebody gonna bite.
yeah, somebody going,
Yeah.
So it's and it's funny because like I don't want you to misunderstand. Like I enjoyed the time, right? Now I had some moments like losing family members, but for the most part, because of the era that I went in, right? Prison was doable, right? Because I've been in situations where the only thing I could not do was leave.
Okay.
Right. So, and I'm talking about every aspect of life. I was able to engage in.
I got you.
Yeah, while I was away. Right.
I got you.
Yeah.
So between you in the beginning, you said that through all of that, the one thing that you still didn't conquer was the addiction.
Well, I have, now. I mean, while like I just when I was using, I used
Right.
all the time.
Right.
Right. I didn't take breaks, and if it was available.
Even in the joint.
Man, are you serious?
It's more easy in there.
Yeah, and again, the only thing you can't do is leave, right? Yeah, and it's accessible, and the thing, like, and I shared this with a friend of mine yesterday. Like, there are some principles, right? Unwritten principles in prison. Like, all right, say like you known for getting it. I'm known for getting it. He's known for getting it, right? And so like when I get it, like I'll spread it out before I even do anything personal.
Okay.
Right. That's the standard rule.
Yeah.
Right. So whoever is somebody,
get it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You understand? So yeah, it's like it's a system. Of course, it's like a tiny society within a society, because like everything that happens in society basically happens in there, right? It's just in a more controlled manner. But and you can a lot of people get lost in it because a lot of people try to stay out there, and you can't do both, right? And then a lot of people allow the time to do that, like, because I've seen people like lose their minds, right? And I'm talking about being in less time that I have, right? And then I think like solitude is not good for everybody.
Like solitary confinement.
Yeah,
That's now that when I hear about that, that's like insanity.
Right,
Like they try to get you to go crazy with that.
Like I've spent out of 25, I probably spent 9 years behind the door for
the whole 9.
Like back to back almost.
And
right?
that's what, 23 hours in there?
Yeah, like for me, it's about the mindset, how you occupy your mind, how you occupy your time, and then like what I believe is that when some people realize who and what they become, can't deal with it, can't handle, like, this is who I am. And so I've seen people commit suicide. I've seen people drinking stuff that is gonna cause harm. And like you hear people banging their head on the wall because they can't.
All you can hear is your thoughts, basically.
And again, if I'm stuck with me, some people can't. So it's
you revisiting a whole bunch of stuff. And then this stuff, that's wild.
Yeah, so it can be torturous, and then they play these games like they paint certain cells, certain colors that play with you. You have to have you have to have a particular mindset, and then like they have the Supermax, and then they had the North Branch, and they are designed specifically. So again, like it's about how strong your mind is, because like going into the situation, you already know what it is, and so you prepare yourself mentally. And then again, like I've seen people go from population to the psych ward.
Yeah. Because of that, it
Yeah.
drive you crazy.
Yeah.
What the colors do? What you mean by
Like colors affect your mood.
Oh yeah,
right?
Okay, I got you.
You understand what I'm saying?
Yeah,
so if I'm in a gray cell,
yeah, it's dark,
dim or black,
yeah,
or green, like colors that's designed to.
It's kind of, it'll make you upset more than like a brighter color.
And people buy into it and feed into it, and they become
you gotta ignore it. Kind of. So what out of the addiction? What is the thing that you feel? Well, when you were going through the addiction, what's the thing that you feel had a hold on you? Like, why do you feel like it had such a strong hold on you? I was watching something not too long ago about one of the guys on BMF, and he was saying that he was like, "Did you ever indulge in the stuff?" And he's like, "Nah." He's like, "Nah, I never indulged in it because I remember one of my homeboys used to get high, and they told me it's like having an orgy." And it's like, hey, y'all ain't gonna never stop if I get that. So he was like, I ain't never doing that shit.
I mean, maybe the very first time.
Yeah, that's
right?
what he said.
The very first time.
So he chasing that the whole time.
Right. And so that's once you come through it, I ain't gonna say because you'll never get fixed or recovered with a D. But once you come out of the fog, right, you realize, and when you get some information, you realize that the first high you experience, you'll never achieve that, but you don't know that,
right?
Because you in it, and so you chase that for however long. Again. So you chase it for however long, you stay stuck, right? And for me, it was a lot of things like abandonment. I struggle with, suffer from abandonment. Trauma from things that I've seen, like never had like no kind of like sexual, none of that stuff.
I got you.
But trauma from seeing things as a young child and not knowing how to process the feelings, because wasn't nobody talking about therapy. I come up in the 70s.
That's I don't mean to cut you off, but that's super important because when you said that, and I had this thought before that a lot of the abuse from that is trying to get over something like what you're saying. Mm-hmm. So you feel like a good percentage of the people that went through this struggle is because of that same reason.
Absolutely, and I also believe, and I've shared this, I believe that every person who has come through, as far as growing up, has experienced some form of trauma. Some form of trauma, and when you don't know, and I shared this on a post the other day. I have to learn what I have so I can live with what I got.
Gotcha.
Right. So if I don't know I suffer from abandonment, right. If I don't know I suffer from depression or trauma, and not only that, like it's like having a wound and not addressing it.
Gotcha.
Right? Because it's not hurting.
It'll get worse.
Or you'll tell yourself it's not hurt. So if I stuff a lot of feelings because I didn't know how to deal with them. And so for me, drugs was a good way for me to escape having to deal with.
I get you.
But I don't know that when I'm not high, it's coming back. And so I get high again. And so it becomes away. Right. And so dependence and tolerance come into play because the more you do anything, the consumption gets greater. Right. And the dependence gets greater. And so like talking about 40-year addiction. Okay. Right. And it took me everywhere it was supposed to take me, and I shared this in a group about 3 weeks ago. Drugs and cigarettes have some similarities, but they also have differences. Each have a name: Newport Cool, LL Cool J, or Spider, whatever. But the difference is cigarettes warn you. That if I never got that. No. Let me take that back, because again, older guys,
they tell you that,
right?
But there ain't no label.
There ain't no label. Nothing. Like nobody said you do this for the next 40 years.
This is gonna happen.
And what's crazy, right, is that the first time I used, or anybody with heroin, right, your body rejects it.
Okay.
Your body, like, you throw up.
Yeah.
So that's your body telling you,
Don't
James, we don't need this.
Yeah.
But me, because when you selling dope, when I came up, when you sold dope, you sniffed dope.
Yeah.
You went to the club, the dollar bill, all of that.
Yeah.
So it came with it,
Right.
right? So when my body rejected it, and then a couple of days later, I think I'm sick, and then somebody say, no, you just need some of this.
Some more.
And so it begins, again. And so the very first time, I'm 13, adverse effect, but 14, and again here dealing with low self-esteem because I want to fit in, so y'all sniff dope, so and and when I share that, and people look, right, because the exterior can have you twisted, right? Like, I can't believe you dealt with low self-esteem. Right. Like, I really didn't like myself. Y'all
you never know what's going on in here.
Right. And then like, somebody had to help me understand, because I had resentments towards my mother, right? Because she knew my father was an addict, and she pursued the relationship anyway. And somebody said, well, what about her backstory? What happened in her life
that made her do that?
Right. And so I said, moment.
Yeah. It's always a reason for everything. Like, and that's why it's like me today, probably for good and bad reasons. Like, I'm not quick to judge people because it's I'm always, especially in my relationships, when I'm dealing with a woman or something like that, it's always like, I try to beat the communication thing now, because it's like, you want to know what you're dealing with. If I need to be here, if I don't need, if it's something you need to work through, son, I need to work through. Right. But we can't build without that communication, because like you said, I think I say this on this podcast a lot. Damn near every episode on these type of episodes, me and my cousins, we always talk about how our parents, that way of showing affection was so different. It's like, you ain't really get that affection, but if we say that to them, they be like, yes, you did, but you can't tell us what we experienced. And then as an adults, we get why they were that way, but now it's like, all right, we bring this to your attention, let's fix this instead of keep pushing that. But I get exactly what you mean, because like, you was putting fault on your mother, but it's like, all right, well, Ma, what's up? Like, why are you like, well, let's see if we can, so we don't pass this down to the next generation. Right. That's what it's about. Right. And I feel like what you saying when you go in these groups and stuff, that's what you doing. Giving people the game and putting them down with stuff to let them know, like, you ain't gotta go this far or go through this stuff. It'll get worse if you don't do this now.
Right, absolutely. And then, like, for me, like, one of the things that I want to accomplish, right, in my journey, because there's a stigma on a person who struggle with addiction, right, that you will always, and that's not true, right? And even with evidence that people have successfully embarked on this journey and are maintaining, but I think it's easier for society to categorize somebody, so you don't really have to deal with them, right? But like, for me, empathy, right? Because I lived it, right? So I understand, and I understand how it can, like, use against your will, right? I'm talking about, like, I don't want to get high. And I want to stop, but I can't. So I understand.
Gotcha.
Right. So I'm trying to. What I try to do is infuse in the person, because what I understand is I'm not God, and I can't interrupt what God has for your life. Right. The only thing that I can do is offer you some information based on my experiences and the information that I received on this journey.
Gotcha.
And prayerfully, something I say will reach your spirit, and you'll,
Got you. So that's what you've been on since you've been out, or recently you've been on this speaking to people and all the things like that.
Yeah, well, like, when I think my second year home, I had went around to a few schools speaking, right? But I struggled, right? So I was not able to maintain a steady course, right? Because I struggled for most of the time I've been home, right? And so now, like, you know, maintain first and foremost. Give back. Like I got, I want to do a nonprofit, right?
Okay.
Like everything that I want to do in my life, right, is geared towards giving back, trying to be, you know, trying to be a part of the solution, right? One of the things, like I really despise hearing guys my age complain about the state of the youth without taking any accountability or responsibility. Okay, we know, like, so what are you going to do to try to?
Yeah, that's real.
It's easy,
That's
and
real.
then my thing is, if you don't have a real issue, complaining is just a waste of
They
energy.
ain't gonna do nothing. And then the complaining turn into downing people, talking down on people, which ain't gonna help. If you even if offering advice or showing somebody the way, that's the way you can help. It's always a way to help somebody.
Right,
So
right.
that's super important because, like you said, the youth. It's going to keep getting younger and younger, and they're going to need guidance some kind of way. And another thing I always say, it goes back to the beginning when we was first talking. When you said what you see in your society is everything that you saw negative in your society had a negative effect on you. But when you talk to other coaches, when they grow up, majority of them, you know, they growing up around doctors, lawyers, and all that in their community. That's what they're a part of. So they get a different edge of the sword with that. But if we provide my platform, these stories, and when I interview people that's in another career path, is to do that, to show them, all right, you ain't gotta do this. These are things that you could look at and be like, oh, I might want to fuck with that.
Right.
It's just, it could get me money, it could get me out the way and do. It's so many more opportunities now, but it's still always gonna be that for, especially for black youth, them people outside getting that money, getting the girls and all that stuff. So, but like you said, it's all another side of that. It's too many sides to that story. So it's all about how you do that.
Right.
So anything, if people want to reach out to you for like speaking or anything or any kind of advice or something like that, is there a way they can reach you?
Yeah, I mean, I don't do the Instagram
Okay.
or Snapchat. Like, I have a Facebook page.
Okay.
My name is James Siler, Siler.
Okay.
You know, you hit my page. Hit my DM.
Gotcha.
You know, because even with me going through what I've gone through my entire life, I never did not have somebody
Okay.
trying. You know, so again, like I just like. Obligation, right? So if any way I can help with talking or whatever, you know, I'm open for it.
Yeah. And if you can't reach him, reach me, and I get you in contact with him. I definitely get you. So how you meet Jackie? I should have got that stuff.
You know, because like I said, I've been living up Park Heights 50 years. You know, I know Chuck, man.
Okay.
You know, we've done some
the
things.
whole family.
Okay, you know, I think Chuck's father was your grandfather.
Yeah.
Him and my father.
Okay.
You know, so it's
Okay.
and you know, I've been connected with Jackie in the streets, and then when I first came in the street, she became like my P person.
Okay.
So a lot of people don't know because it would be a conflict. But like, even, you know, I would pull up about her.
Okay. Yeah. Me too.
Yeah.
Me too. Me too.
As crazy as she is.
Yeah.
You know, and not wanting to share the mic, and you know, I love her like that's my heart.
Right. I told you the same here. That's one of my favorite people. I said that on our episode. So yeah, it closed. And I definitely appreciate everything you shared.
No problem, man.
Everything. I hope this reached the right people and get to the right people that could take something from this. For sure, and I definitely would like to run this back again because I know it's not enough time for me to go on for what I had.
Because I ain't, you know, I really, you know, we could have really, but you know, it's causes some things that we can't, you know, but it's some other, you know, it's some other things, right? You know, because my thing is, I think most people, in my experience, just being here, would rather for you to lie to them.
Yeah.
Like that's not.
That ain't gonna help nobody.
Right. So I give it to you how it is, and because of my training, right. I have a particular manner of. I talk in a lot of parables.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
And sometimes, it doesn't reach who it, but again, like. Now I'm easily accessible. Because again, I'm a Park Heights. I work for Phoenix Health Services.
Okay.
So if you can't get me through Facebook, reach out to Moot. He can get to me, or reach out to Phoenix Services.
You got anything else you want to get into this little bit?
Again, and like I appreciate the invite. I hope that something that I said can inspire or provoke, instigate. Because what I do, I post on Facebook, right? And my purpose for posting is to get people to think, and possibly start a conversation, right? Yeah, man, and I'm just, a lot of people believe that I'm unapproachable. I'm not. I'm really a social dude. I just don't have time for the nonsense.
Gotcha. I understand that.
Because I wasted a lot of time.
Yeah.
So I try to
make
be
use of all your time.
I
got you for sure. We definitely, I definitely think in the future we gonna run this back, because it's more I want to get from this, and I got a good feeling we gonna get a good reception from this. That's going to ask for some more, and I got some people in mind that I want to see this too, so it could help. But in the meantime, until this episode 121, please subscribe to the YouTube. Follow me on IG. I'm on TikTok too. The youth got me on TikTok. I'm on everything. So in the Apple Podcasts, Google Play, Spotify, all the above, I'm on all that. Please tap in and follow, share it with everybody around the state, the globe, everybody tap in. Like I said, July 1st, check out all the details on the We Need Answers page. I don't think it's gonna get on here before Saturday, but if you miss this brunch I'm having this Saturday at Shipyard Pub, please come to the next one. It's gonna be a great event. Until next time, my guy James, I appreciate you.
Appreciate you.
Thank you for this one. A lot of good information. We out. We Need Answers podcast.